All right, I just want to say this is really an expansion on both Andrea's and Shelly's presentations and their reasoning. So you might want to see theirs first before you look at mine. I'm Heather Jones, and this is my presentations on how to use the hundreds chart. So from Shelley's presentation on using the hundreds chart, she says that you can ask students a question like, find 72%. And students will use related facts to find 72%. Like they will know how much 70% is and how much 1% is, and they will naturally add 1% to 70%, and then another percent to 71% to find 72%. I'm saying that using Andrea's one more than, two more than principle for reasoning, that you can ask students to find two more percent than 70%. And I think this is really a very natural flow to a lesson. It's like using the constructivist theory that says, well, they know from previous using of the hundreds chart to add or to move over two more from 70% to find two more than, and they also know from finding percentages that they are going to be adding 1% and 2% more. And I just think it's really natural, and that kids will be able to use their own reason and make their own assumptions to find how to add percentages together. So you might ask the question, what's one more percent than 5%? And hopefully, naturally, they will move from 5% to 6% using schemas that they've already built on using the hundreds chart in your classroom. The next thing I would do was begin to use the hundreds chart and Shelley's idea of showing how to find decimals and also percentages and comparing the two side by side to really get the correlation that decimals and percentages mean the same thing. So you may want to use another similar type of hundreds chart. Instead of using the hundreds chart, which has whole numbers to explain decimals, you can have a lot of problems trying to explain decimals on a whole numbers chart because you might ask for something like point 0.6 to find point 0.6, and they'll want to select the whole number 6 instead of the number 60 because the whole number 6 would really represent point 0.06 instead of what 60 would represent, which would be point 0.6. This is why I would recommend using a hundredths chart instead of a whole number hundredths chart. Because on this chart you can definitely see that point 0.6 where point 0.6 is and not confuse it with point 0.06. It just makes it a lot simpler and helps relate the ideas a lot quicker. So going back to the idea of using the charts to make the connection that percentages and decimals are really the same thing, I would do a small activity with the students by asking them to take out both of their charts and to first mark, something like 25%, and then on the other chart, mark 0.25, and then have them look at both of the charts and then ask them stuff like, while you're looking at both of the charts, like, what do you notice about 25% and 0.25? You can do this with a lot of numbers until they start making the connection that these two things are really the same. They're just different ways of writing it. Um, it's really quick and it's really easy, and I think that most students will make the connection fairly fast. But even more than just showing them the comparison of how they are the same, you can begin asking them questions that will cover conversions from percentages to decimals. You can ask questions like, what's 25% converted into decimals? Or like what's 0.02 into percentages? It's just an easy way to really get the concept down without having too much focus on, adding or subtracting, dividing. It just is more for the concept that these two ideas are very closely related. Before I end this, I do want to say you want to be careful not to accidentally relate the idea that these whole numbers on the hundreds chart are equal to the numbers that are on the percentages or the decimals charts, because percentages and decimals are part of one whole number. So while this hundreds chart equals 100 tiles, the percentages and decimals, that whole chart equals one, just one time.